If it's all digital, won't you lose it anyway? Hi everyone, Leo Notenboom here for askleo.com. Here's a question I got some time ago. I had a thought about everything being digital. Is there a chance that important information can be lost? From important and historical information to irreplaceable pictures, etc. I was holding a picture of me from 1980. Yes, genuine film. Had there been digital scanners and fast enough computers back then, the 5¼ inch disc would be unreadable by today's drives. The disk probably would have errors if you could find a used hard drive to even read it for your precious memories. Never mind historians, scholars, and the young storing all of their Facebook information in the cloud only. I use external media in more than one type. I don't know anyone who backs up a single thing, no matter how many speeches I give them. Yeah, it's true. I hear about it every day. Digital information can be lost quite easily. But I don't see that as an indictment of digital technology at all. In fact, digital data opens up many more possibilities for data retention than it closes. I want to tell you about my grandfather's photographs. Digital can be lost easily, but then so can film. Many years ago, my mother and I traveled to her birthplace in the Netherlands. It was my first trip overseas and my first chance to meet many of my relatives. We were to stay in her childhood home, still occupied by her parents. The night before we arrived, there was a fire. While the building didn't get burned down completely, there was extensive damage. We ended up staying with my aunt and uncle instead. One of my grandfather's hobbies was photography. As I understand it, he was actually one of the earliest to play with photography in his area. The vast majority of his photographs, some dating back several decades, were lost in the fire. Photographs and other memorabilia that my mother had been looking forward to sharing with me. It doesn't have to be fire. Photos can be lost or damaged in any number of ways. Aside from scratches and fingerprints and fading, there are bends and tears and foxing on the edges. That's why historians take such precious care of original material. The problem is that in many cases, there's only one original. Additional copies, if they exist at all, often lose some amount of quality in the duplication process. If something happens to the original, it's gone. The only way to back up an original is to take the time to make a generally inferior duplicate. Your argument is really about backing up. Too many people don't back up. When they lose precious data, they then blame the technology. Fortunately, digital records give us more opportunities to protect precious memories than ever before. To begin with, a digital copy of a digital original does not lose quality. It's 100% pristine copy of the original. They're essentially indistinguishable from one another. There are no scratches, no tears, no other physical damage to contend with. In addition, digital photographs can be duplicated trivially easy. No trip to Photomat required. Now, while storage media can and does change over time, it's also easy to ensure that your photographs are always kept in current technologies, and even in the cloud, where they can also be backed up. Safe, no matter what happens in your home. There are two objections I hear regularly about my approach to preserving digital data: file formats and storage formats, both of which can change over time. I'm absolutely convinced that the most popular file formats today will continue to be readable for decades, if not centuries, even if newer and perhaps better formats come along. There's just too much information that's been captured in those formats for the format itself to ever be lost. Even for the more obscure formats, I could envision reverse engineering ways to read them, if needed. The important thing is that we have the data in its pristine, digital, analyzable form. Storage formats are slightly more problematic in that they require what can only be called periodic maintenance. Every so often, the data needs to be copied from the old storage formats that are beginning to disappear, say that floppy disk, to newer storage that is expected to last longer. The process is a continual process of copying data from old storage to new. In my case, I copied floppies to CDs. Then I later copied those CDs to hard disks. Those hard disks are duplicated, and I expect that some years from now there'll be a newer, better format for me to copy it all to. Combined, those two approaches, plus generous backing up, ensures that your digital memories remain intact much longer than those paper photos will remain legible. You can tell by now, I'm a huge fan of digital for all these reasons and more. I have well over a terabyte of photographs. They're all backed up on at least a couple of machines here at home as well as online in Dropbox. The image that was shown earlier is taken from a higher resolution scan of one of my parents' photo albums. The woman on the left is my grandmother, and the image on the right is of a swimming class in progress. I can't recreate a new image, but I can back up what I have. Included in that terabyte are scans of almost all the old photo albums that escaped the fire. Please consider preserving your own precious memories and backing them up in a similar way. For updates, for comments, for links related to this topic and more, visit askleo.com/10784. I'm Leo Notenboom, and this is askleo.com. Thanks for watching.